Oh wow, I moved it way too far and pushed down too hard. If this one works, these things must be bulletproof. I'm trying something new. This is my first time working with a small BGA package microcontroller. I'm testing whether I can actually mount them by hand on 4-layer prototype PCBs from OSH Park. This PIC32CZ was my first choice for a microcontroller in my DualSense battery testing setup. It's way overkill for the job, but it had two things I really liked: Microchip's latest USB 2.0 module and hardware double precision floating point support. The problem was I couldn't find any 100-pin or even 144-pin TQFP packages in stock. The BGA versions were everywhere, but hand mounting even a small BGA seemed like too much, so I went with the cheaper single precision PIC32CK series instead. But I used to feel the same way about DFN and QFN packages, and now I handle them just fine. So I decided to make a test board and see if the combination of cheap PCBs and hand mounting is even possible for me. While it's possible to use QFP packages on a 2-layer board, I don't think that would work with this BGA. Most of the power and ground pins are on the inner balls. On this 4-layer test board, I'm only connecting about half the pins, and I could probably squeeze in another 20 or so before routing gets really difficult, and this isn't even a dense BGA package. This is a 4-layer board with a ground plane on layer 2. Layer 3 is the power plane. The main supply is 3.3 volts, but the PIC32CZ, CA8, and CA9 series also need 1.8 volts, so I routed that there too. That leaves the top and bottom layers for everything else. For this test board, I added a few LEDs, 3 headers for the SIRCOM ports, a USB-C connector, and a micro SD socket. Just enough to see if this is even doable. I set the trace width, clearance, and vias to OSH Park's minimum for 4-layer boards on the BGA connections. The ball pitch on this package is 0.8 millimeters, which is on the larger size for BGAs. I don't think this board process could handle a much finer pitch. The boards arrived from OSH Park. You get 3 boards, so I ordered 4 processors. Realistically, I'm hoping for at least 1 working board when I'm done. I'm using a TI buck boost regulator for the 3.3 volt supply. It's in a tiny SOT package with 0.5 millimeter pitch leads. The leads stick out, so I can solder it with a fine tip iron, which I like. This is the first board, so I'll start with the 3.3 volt regulator and make sure it works before adding the 1.8 volt one. Better to do it piece by piece in case I messed up the layout. Makes it much easier to find the problem. I set the power supply to a current limit of about 200 milliamps and slowly raise the voltage. Once it crosses the undervoltage lockout, it fires up and delivers 3.3 volts. So far, so good. This is the TI TPS62824. It's in a 0.5 millimeter pitch, special no-lead package. I put way too much solder paste on the pads, but I can press it down and squeeze out the extra. This series has a fixed 1.8 version, but I only had the adjustable one. That was definitely too much paste. I'll have to clean some of it off with the iron. I tend to overdo the solder paste, and I know I can't do that with the BGA. It would be a disaster. Okay, both 1.8 volts and 3.3 volts look good. I'll go ahead and install all the bypass and filter caps. Most of them are on the back side of the board. I'm using a needle to apply the solder paste, trying not to scrape the gold plating on the pads. It's tedious, but that's hand mounting any tiny SMD parts. I think I'm still using too much paste. Under the BGA, there's nowhere for the extra solder to go. If things go well, it'll just make the balls a little fatter. I want to place it straight down without sliding it around much. Well, that's not great. I start by heating the underside of the board with hot air. Not enough to disturb the parts on the back, but enough to warm up the whole area. Every few seconds I lightly touch it with the tweezers, and it hasn't moved. There it moved, so the solder has started to melt. I'll give it a few more seconds of hot air. The outer rows of balls look soldered. I definitely used too much paste because the balls got noticeably fatter, but they're not touching. Let's see if it powers up. Power is off, but the programmer and power connector are plugged in. Current limit is set to 300 milliamps, so any short shouldn't damage anything. It pulled a little current at first, but now it's setting at 20 milliamps. No short. I create a new MPLAB X project for the PIC32 CZ4010 CA8144 and let it do the MCC code generation. First I try to read the chip. Target voltage detected and target device found. Nice. At least the supply and programming pins are connected. Let me see if it's really working. I'll count to 50 million and toggle all the indicator LEDs. There we go. I'm pleasantly surprised. This doesn't mean every single ball is connected, but it's a great start for my first one. As you can see, I still can't help overdoing the solder paste. A bit more than the first board, but the pad coverage is more consistent. Let me get the chip in place. That's not horrible, a little off, less than the pitch of the contacts. Probably will be okay. I put a drop of solder paste off to the side as a visual indicator since nothing else is mounted near the processor. Then start to heat the underside of the board. I'm running the hot air at 800 degrees Fahrenheit with a 10% airflow. I think with no other parts around, I could pick up the air volume a bit. I just lightly touched the chip with the tweezers and it didn't move any, so nothing has melted yet. There was a tiny bit of movement. A bit more movement, but the corner near C30 feels like it is stuck. Okay, that feels like it is floating. I moved it further than I would like, but I had almost no downward pressure, so maybe I didn't mash any solder together. I think the balls look pretty good. They're fatter than they should be, but I don't see any bridging, and hopefully the inner ones look the same. Still too much paste, but better consistency than the first board. I installed all the other parts and hooked up power. No shorts. Again, a very good start. First I check if it can read the chip. Yes, correct voltage and the right device ID. At least some pins are connected. I program it. The second LED runs off of the instruction clock and the fifth LED runs off of the 32 kHz crystal. Both are flashing, so I'm calling this one a success too. I'd like to say I cut back on the solder paste, but that wouldn't be true. I used a bit less than the second board, but the consistency isn't as good. This was probably my best placement so far. And then I pushed it too much. I place the indicator drop of paste and start heating the back of the board. The light touches aren't moving it, so the solder hasn't melted yet. Just starting to melt. Oh wow, I moved it way too far and pushed down too hard. If this one works, these things must be bulletproof. Well, they're not bulletproof. I shorted some pins. It doesn't show well in the video, but I pressed down way too hard on the chip. The side movement was excessive, but I feel the downward pressure was the real problem. Still, 2 out of 3 on my first try isn't bad. I have one processor left. I removed as much solder as possible from the pads with solder wig and put down a thin layer of paste flux. No solder paste this time. Without solder paste, alignment isn't as critical. Pushing it through the flux won't cause shorts. That's a big plus going this route. I still add a drop of solder paste off to the side as an indicator. I heat the underside of the board again. This time I drop the temperature to 750 degrees Fahrenheit, still at 10% airflow. Because the solder balls are now floating on flux, the chip moves easily, so I can't use movement as a melting indicator. The push put the chip a little askew. I'm watching very closely for any movement for it to try and align itself. It is still floating on flux. I think it moved a bit. I'm feeling for a very, very light springy resistance, and there is a bit of it, so I think some of the solder balls have melted. There it is. I think all the solder has melted. Bit of resistance to being moved, and it springs back. Of course, the movement needs to be very small, less than half the ball pitch, and I used no downward pressure at all. The balls look good and definitely smaller. The package even looks to be setting closer to the board surface. Let me program it and see if it works. It does. I don't think I need to reflow it or apply any dangerous downward pressure. This is the 144-pin BGA package, and I have 71 pins connected. All three working boards seem to have good connection on those 71 pins. I don't know what problems a missing ground or supply pin would cause, but everything I tested worked fine. I believe it would be very difficult to connect all 144 pins on a 4-layer board like this. Of course, routing a 144-pin QFP with 0.4mm pitch isn't easy either on this process, but at least you can see the connections on the QFP. I only tried one chip with flux-only, but I'm leaning toward that method for one-off hand installs. The chance of short seems much lower. If a ball doesn't connect, I can always add a little flux underneath, reflow, and gently press down, or maybe even just increase the airflow to fix it. I think I'll order some 0.4mm solder balls and try reballing the failed chip. Maybe get another set of boards so I have fresh pads, and practice the flux-only method a few times. Overall, I think these coarser-pitch BGA packages are usable by hand. They need at least a 4-layer board, but they take up less space, which helps offset the cost somewhat. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I was ready for all of them to fail. Having only one failure, and that because I got careless and pushed down way too hard, is a good result. Pushing down on these is definitely a recipe for disaster, but it's hard to tell when the chip is floating on melted solder without applying some kind of pressure. I'll do a bit more practice and try reballing so I can reduce the cost per test. But these packages are an option. I still prefer QFP when I can get it because you can actually see the connections. But if BGA is the only choice, it's doable. I just need more practice. Thank you for watching.